Yeah. Why can't we have some meat? What about them? They're fresh.
Greetings, YouTube. The Doctor is in. Dr. Urius Papers here, coming at you with another commentary on Dungeons and Dragons, and this is another video on classes from Ravenloft Horrors Within. The next class that we are going to be looking at is the Phantom Rogue class. It says, embrace death and wield ghostly powers. So I am actually going to start this video off a little bit differently than what we've had before. And I'm going to give this one a C+. And looking at this particular subclass compared to some of the other subclasses, and we can look at those here. Let's get the arrow out of the way. So, Arcane Trickster Assassin. There's the Phantom. Scion of the Three. Soul Knife Thief. We're not going to talk about the Arachnoid Stalker or the Ruin Tagger, but the Swashbuckler, which is a legacy one, is also in here. I haven't done a ranking video for these, but I would say that the Phantom is somewhere in the middle. It's better than a few of these. It's worse than some of these. That's why we're giving it a C+. So let's get into it and let's talk about it. So embrace death and wield ghostly powers. These are all about, you know, the supernatural and horror and all that, you know, kind of stuff. I feel like some of the abilities that the Phantom Rogue is getting in this are a little bit forced just to kind of give it that flavor, but they are there. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to get at third level when we take this subclass is the Wails from the Grave. And this is the big shtick with this subclass. Nothing that this subclass has is going to be transformational to the party in combat, and that's really the way we look at things. It's got an okay ability in combat, and then it's got some other ancillary abilities that add some versatility to the character. And you know, they're okay, but they're not necessarily there for combat. So at third level, we're getting Wails from the Grave. This is the shtick for combat for this particular class. Immediately after you deal sneak attack damage to a creature on your turn, you can target a second creature. So you can't target the first, but you target the second that you can see within 30 feet of the first creature. Roll half the number of sneak attack damage dice for your level round up, because some of these are odd. And the second creature takes necrotic damage equal to the roll's total as Wails of the Dead sound around it. And you can use this feature a number of times equal to your dexterity modifier, which should be about a 4. Just saying, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This is not the limit to this, by the way. There is another ability in here that we're going to go through that really stretches this out a lot. Now, what does this mean? Well, if we look at the rogue table, the rogue table has a bunch of sneak attack dice on it. So at third level, we're talking a d6 damage to a second creature. Again, that is not transformational to the party. It is not going to end a combat. This damage goes all the way up to 10d6 at 19th level, but really because we're looking at odds, round it up, as it says right there, round up. So we want to look at either 17th level or 13th level. So at 13th level, we're getting 7d6, so that's going to be 4d6. At 17th level, we're getting 9d6, which is going to be 5. That will be the max that we can get out of this is 5. So this seems like the sweet spot. 5d6 is going to be 3 dice. That could be 18 points of damage. That's not really going to be transformational at all. So it's whenever you deal sneak attack damage, you get it to another creature. And this gets better as you go up in levels. But again, like I said, it's not something that's going to end a combat. All right, at third level, we also get Whispers of the Dead. Whenever you're finished short or long rest, you can choose one skill or tool proficiency that you lack and gain it. Okay, that's a little utility, a little versatility. Other than that, it's really nothing that is going to be transformational to the party in combat whatsoever at all. It's just there. And the rogues get pretty good proficiencies anyway, so I think they just needed to put something there. They put this in here. It's as a ghostly presence shares its knowledge with you. I think this was a little forced. All right, at level 9, we get tokens of the departed. The spirits of the dead are drawn to you, and echoes of their past lives magically manifest as strange curios with resonant power. This adds to the Wails from the Grave shtick that I talked about earlier. So you gain 2 soul trinkets, and it's a tiny object. If you move more than 30 feet from a trinket, the trinket immediately teleports to you, appearing somewhere on your person. So this is how you use them. You can do a Death's Knell. When you deal sneak attack damage on your turn, you can destroy 1 soul trinket and immediately use Wails of the Grave without expending a use of that feature. So remember here it said we can use this a number of times per long rest equal to our dexterity modifier. Now we get a free use of it at 9th level. Now this isn't all the way till 9th level though. So there's a big gap between 3rd level and 9th level. So that's another reason why I kind of pulled that rating down to around a C plus or a C. So again, you get to deal this damage. You get 2 trinkets, but there is a way to get more. So again, life essence, while you have at least 1 soul trinket, you have advantage on death saving throws. That's okay. This is very situational. And constitution saving throws, that's pretty good. That's not too bad. That could probably save your life. But again, it's not going to be super transformational to the party itself. And then Spirit Query, you can take a magic action to destroy 1 soul trinket and immediately cast Augury, requiring no spell components and using a Constitution as a spellcasting modifier. If you know the creature with which the trinket is associated, you can ask the creature's spirit 1 question instead of casting the spell. In this case, the spirit appears to you and answers as concisely as possible in a language it knew in life. So this is a little bit different than Augury. Augury is typically a yes or a no, or maybe. This one's an actual question. So that's not bad either. That's good versatility, utility outside of combat. It uses your soul trinket. Now, you can gain extra trinkets. So when a creature you can see within 30 feet of you dies, you can take a reaction to gain another trinket, claiming a sliver of that creature's departing soul. You can only have 2 until you reach 13th level, which you can have 3. And at 17th level, you can have 4. Now, what does that mean? That means, remember I said at 17th level, we're doing 5d6 extra damage to a second creature because of our Wails from the Grave when we do a sneak attack. So that's going to pop off with a sneak attack. We can use a trinket. We can have up to 4 trinkets, and we can get, if we kill that opponent, then we get another trinket. So you essentially are not going to be using this at all to do Wails from the Grave. Once you hit 9th level, you're going to have as many trinkets as you want because you're just going to be, you and the party are going to be whacking things. It doesn't say that you have to do it. It just says when a creature you can see within 30 feet of you dies. So you just get another trinket if you don't already have one. All right, at 9th level, we also, by the way, whenever you finish a long rest with fewer than 2 soul trinkets, you gain soul trinkets until you have 2. So also at 9th level, we get Voice of Death. You can cast Speak with the Dead once without a spell slot requiring no spell components and using dexterity as a spellcasting modifier. You regain the ability to cast this after you finish a short or long rest. So once an hour, you get Speak with the Dead. However, when you cast a spell, you can target one of your soul trinkets from tokens of the departed instead of a corpse, allowing the spirit of the creature associated with the trinket to answer. So essentially, you don't need a body. So Speak with the Dead gives semblance of life to a corpse. You don't really even need that. You just need your soul trinket and a soul in it, and they can answer, but it's got to be that creature's spirit, so you're only going to be able to get answers for that creature. Again, this is a little bit more utility. It's not going to be transformational in combat, so it could be a utility or versatility outside of combat. At 13th level, as a bonus action, you assume a spectral form, gaining the benefits below for 10 minutes or until you end them. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, unless you destroy one of your trinkets. which means we're going to be doing this all the time because we're always going to have trinkets. So we get a fly speed of 10 feet and you can hover. So maybe that might be okay. We can use ranged attacks to do sneak attack. So if we go over here to the rogue and we go to the sneak attack, once per turn, you can deal extra d6 to a creature you hit with an advantage using a finesse or ranged weapon. So this might be good if we're hovering pretty high up in the air and we could use, a hand crossbow or a regular crossbow or a short bow or something that keeps us out of combat. And, we could be getting some sneak attack off of that too. Attack rolls have disadvantage against you. I like that. So, and finally, in corporal movement, you can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take a d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature. So you can get around pretty easily. So you can get behind cover pretty easily as well. So you gain the benefits below, all of them. You gain all of those benefits. Basically, you're turning into a ghost. This actually, I think, goes well with the rogue. This all goes well with the rogue. And the fact that you can use your trinkets, that makes it palpable because you're not really, this long rest stuff doesn't really matter. Okay. Finally, at 17th level, we get Death's Friend. Your association with death has become so close that you gain the following benefits. Death's Lament. When you use your Wails from the Grave, remember that's the shtick where we get the extra damage, you can deal the features necrotic damage to both the first and second creature. So we hit the creature, 1. We do sneak attack damage, 2. We destroy a trinket to use Wails of the Grave, and we do, because this is 17th level, so we're doing 9d6 damage to that creature with the sneak attack, and then we're going to do another 5d6 necrotic damage to that creature, and another 5d6 to another creature. So that's pretty good. That actually spreads some pretty good damage. And then finally, we get Draw of Death. When you roll initiative, you gain 1 soul trinket for your tokens that departed if you have none remaining. This is okay. This is going to be very situational. If you play this character correctly, you should be walking around with trinkets all the time because you can get them from gaining additional soul trinkets. And it says when a creature you can see within 30 feet of you dies. That's any creature. Any creature. It doesn't specify whether that creature is a CR0, a CR1, a CR2, a CR half, whatever. It doesn't determine that at all. So you will always be walking around with trinkets because you can just whack rats, essentially, and always walk around with trinkets. So what do I think? This out of all of the rogue subclasses, I think this is basically right in the middle. That's why I gave it a C+. Here's another list. Eventually, I'm going to do a tier list. I think it goes well with sneak attack. They put the Wails of Death on here to supplement the sneak attack. It'll probably go well with weapon masteries. That's okay too. You do get your choice of weapon masteries. Your training with weapons allow you to use mastery properties of 2 kinds of weapons your choice with which you have proficiency. So hand crossbows could be one of those. I think it does go well with a lot of this stuff. Some of this stuff feels kind of forced, like the augury and the speak with dead and the extra proficiencies. That seems kind of forced to me. It gives it a little bit of utility, versatility. The other stuff I think is pretty cool. It makes it kind of like a ghostly rogue assassin. All right, that is the video that I have for everybody today. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I will catch everybody